Hi everyone and welcome back. This is Mindy Eggen. In today's video, we are going to be doing some ink blending and stamping with Distress Oxide inks. You've probably seen me use Distress Oxides in techniques and ink blending, but I think what we forget sometimes is that we can stamp with them too. So that is what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to jump right into the ink blending of my background. Now I have a piece of 80-pound white cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm starting by ink blending with Tattered Rose. Next, I'm going to move on to Scattered Straw. I'm going just for some kind of light colors, and I'll be honest, at first this background did not strike me very well, but I truly love it in the end. After the Scattered Straw, I'm going to the other end and adding some Salvaged Patina. I decided to add just kind of some more dark color to this, so I am going to bring in Blueprint Sketch towards the very top. I'm also working on my mixed media approach, so I'm going to do a lot to this background. I'm starting off with adding some flicks of water. Now, normally when I do flicks of water, I do little flicks. I do a paintbrush or flicking off of a block. This time I sprayed some water in my hand and then flicked my fingers all over that background. This left some really big spots that I dab up with a paper towel, so it's going to add a lot of interest to this. Now, before I get too carried away with my background, I am going to get some stamping done. I will be using the Honeybee Stamps Bold Botanicals stamp set. This stamp set is pretty awesome. I'm only going to be using it for silhouette stamping today, but all of the blooms and the stems are separate. There is also a sheet inside as kind of a guide. They have letters and numbers on them, so A1, A2 to help you match things up, but you can also mix and match. I'm just going to do the silhouette portion of it today. So I picked one of the stems and I'm starting off by inking it up with Villianous Purple. I'm going to stamp it down now with oxides. It did take me a couple times. I probably stamped them each at least 2 times to make sure I had really solid coverage there. And then after that, I'm bringing in black soot. Now I did not clean this stamp set before applying the black soot. I'm inking up the bottom portion of that stem, kind of taking my sponge applicator and dabbing where it's crossing into the purple to help ease that transition a little bit. So the black too, I'm also stamping twice, dabbed some of that ink off to help that transition. And we have this great look of going from kind of that black into purple. It's not as noticeable with such a skinny stem, but you can still see it. So here I added the top portion, which is the flowers. And then I'm going to move on and cover the entire bottom here with some stems and then adding up the flowers. So stamping twice in that Villainous Purple, then bringing in the black soot, just inking up the bottom portion of each of those images. The flower parts, I only used the Villainous Purple. I didn't worry about trying to do black on such small areas. After I have some of these stamped out, I'm going to push my cardstock up to the top of my MISTI because I want some of these images to hang off the bottom of the cardstock. I pretty much already knew at this point I was going to be trimming my card panel down, but I still wanted to fill that in down there. So these ones I started with the flowers and then added the stem portion to it. Now this one was so skinny I didn't bother stamping with the black soot. Now, there are also some images on here that are kind of more of just plants, not necessarily flowers, so I stamped those at the same time. I also added the black soot to the bottom of those and dabbed off any of that excess ink with my sponge applicator. Now this is where I was really starting to like how this background came together. So I did come in and I added a little bit more of that blueprint sketch towards the top to kind of add some dark to the top there. And now this is where I am going to start getting a little crazy and out of control with my splatters. I'm starting off with Delusion's Crushed Grape Shimmer Spray. This is pretty new to me. I just got a bunch of these in that I wanted to try out. I just shook it up really well. I took the cap off and added some of that color to my work surface, spritzed a little bit of water so that I could flick this with a paintbrush all over the background. It is super shimmery. Now I'm bringing in white gouache and also adding a little bit of water to that and flicked that all over the background. And I couldn't resist adding some sparkle. So here I have some liquid Stardust that I watered down and added that. So lot of splatters, but I really love how it came out. It just kind of has this mixed media feel to it, even though I don't feel like a mixed media person, but I just really love how this came out. And once the light that I have catches those shimmers, it's just gorgeous. For a sentiment, I just have this simple Hugs word die. This came out of the Slimline Sentiments Eyelet set, and I die cut that from some matte silver cardstock once, and then I have 2 or 3 more layers of that die cut from white cardstock that I'm layering together with some liquid glue. Now, I knew I was taking a risk by using liquid glue with the silver matte cardstock because I always squish my glue out and end up getting on top of that silver cardstock, but I was taking the risk. I just loved that silver on here. I'm going to be using the Sweet Stacks a rectangle die set to die cut out my background, and the reason I used this is I could pick and choose where or what part of my background I wanted to die cut out. So this measures about 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and then I'm adding a little bit of black soot to the very bottom of this to really kind of create that silhouette feeling to it. Now, normally to pop up my card fronts and add dimension, I usually would either use foam tape or most likely I would use cardstock to layer up and add that dimension. I'm testing out some of these double-sided foam sheets. So it's already got sticky on it. I just need to remove the release paper. So I trimmed that down to this a little bit smaller than the size of my card front, and I added it to the back of my blended panel. I have a side folding card base that I placed in the corner of my MISTI, removed that other release paper, and now I'm lining this up over my card base. So I have this beautiful white margin and I have complete coverage behind my entire blended panel. I can finish this off with that Hugs word die that I had layered up and added it to the front with the liquid glue. Now I can see some spots from the adhesive from that liquid glue kind of squishing out, but I'm hoping whoever I give this to doesn't look that closely. Then to finish it off, I just have some gems here. I have 2 on top, 3 on the bottom of my sentiment that I'm adhering down with a tool picker and my liquid glue. Here's a close-up look of the card, so don't look too close at the sentiment in case you see that liquid glue. But the background, I just really love how this came out. And even by adding that ink blending over the top of the splatters, really looks cool. So give that a try sometime too. I hope you enjoyed today's card project and technique. All of the supplies will be listed down below in the video description. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon.